If you enjoyed the stories you heard, please give it a like and leave a comment. To hear the newest Cryptid Tales, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you've had an encounter of your own you would like to share, or if you'd like to give feedback or make a suggestion, email me at cryptidtalesmel@gmail.com. This is an encounter me and my cousin had, and you seem like a guy that will believe our story. I should warn you that this is not just one encounter, but a series of small encounters that led up to one big encounter that happened just before writing this. But I will go into more detail about that when it comes time. This all took place on our grandfather's farm in Ranger, Texas. The first time we encountered what we have now figured out as Bigfoot was about 6 years ago, during the summer of 2013. Me and my cousin were at our grandparents' farm at the time. We were staying at our grandparents' house one night, like normal, and the grandparents were fast asleep. We went to get food from the kitchen, and as we were walking out of the pantry, we saw these red, soulless eyes staring at us through the window on the door. The window was really small, and the creature appeared to be hunched over. We stared at each other for what seemed like several minutes before me and my cousin ran into our bedroom that was about 20 feet away. My curiosity got the best of me, so I peeked my head around the corner to look at the creature one more time. As I looked at the creature, I saw it stand up and hit its head on the roof of my grandparents' covered porch. It must have been at least 10 foot tall, and at the time, I thought it was a demon. Which over time, I have come to believe it was actually a sasquatch. I watched as it easily stepped over the 4-foot-tall chain-link fence, then made its way into the edge of the forest about 400 yards away from the house. Our next encounter happened 2 days later. We were walking around in the woods, just doing what boys do in the woods, when we saw a footprint like none we had ever seen before. My cousin saw it first and pointed it out, saying it looked like a giant foot. I agreed with him and decided to measure it. The print was 19 inches long and 6 inches in width. From that point on, throughout the years, we heard high-pitched screaming coming from those woods. Screams that I can only describe as sounding like the famous Ohio howl, or a low grumbling woman screaming. Every time we've been in the woods since then, it has felt like someone was watching us. The next time we encountered a creature was many years later, during Thanksgiving of 2018. Our grandparents had just got the new house, but they still had no water or toilet. It was about midnight, and we were all still playing board games upstairs. I had to go to the restroom, so I headed downstairs. When I got to the bottom of the stairs, I looked out the window and saw the creature walking from the woods to the pond. It was like it somehow knew I was watching it, because it turned and looked straight at me. Then, after about 20 seconds or so, it turned and continued walking. I immediately turned and went back up the stairs and told my cousin what happened. Needless to say, we didn't use the bathroom for the entire night. Now for the present day. As we pulled up to the driveway at our grandparents' place, we saw about 20 to 30 turkeys in the tree line. After we parked, we decided it would be fun to try and stalk them down through the woods and get a good look at them. Without a second thought, we bailed off into the woods after them. As we got deeper into the woods, we found the turkeys drinking from a small pond my grandpa had built a couple of years prior. We noticed something had startled the turkeys, and they ran off, but it wasn't us. We tried to follow and catch up to them, so we split up. My cousin went to flank them around on the opposite side. As I made my way up the dam on the back side of the pond, I noticed a large footprint embedded into the clay. Honestly, I didn't pay it much attention, or not as much as I should have. I met back up with my cousin, who told me later that on his way to meet back up with me, he had seen the faint glow of two red eyes next to the trailer we had parked back there in the woods, right by where I had previously been standing. We then decided to head towards the deer feeder, because that's where we thought the turkeys had headed. It was at this time we noticed that the woods had gone deathly quiet. No sounds of any animals rustling around or anything. As we continued to the feeder, the deathly silence was broken. We began to hear leaves and sticks breaking and leaves crunching. Through the trees, we both saw something big, black, and hairy running through the woods away from us. It was after this that he told me about the eyes he had seen earlier. We went back and examined the footprint by the pond, and it measured to be about 20 inches long. About 30 minutes later, we decided to check the far back corner of the property, which we don't normally do. But when we got there, the ATV couldn't fit down the path, so we went in on foot. As we walked to the back of the property, nothing felt quite right. There was something definitely strange. I decided to climb a tree to get a better look around the area, and when I looked at the land that borders my grandparents' property, I saw a tree shaking violently. I told my cousin and watched as it fell without making any noise, like something had gently set it down. After it fell, I climbed a bit higher to see if I could see where it had fallen, and that's when I saw the creature. Again, with those same red, soulless eyes, walking from where the tree had just fallen. It was about 200 feet away. It looked to be about 11 to 12 feet tall. I knew this because of the tree it was standing next to, which was about double my height, and I stand at 5'9". That's when I told my cousin to run. As I went to get down out of the tree, the creature looked like it smiled as it began to run towards our direction. I jumped out of the tree and landed weird on my leg, but the pain was the last thing on my mind. I took off running towards my cousin, who was waiting for me about 50 feet away. We looked back behind us, towards the direction of the creature as we took off running. There it was, easily stepping over the 5-foot-tall barbed wire fence that divided the properties, and coming right at us. It sounded like a tank crashing through the forest. I've never felt so scared in my life. I was so scared with the adrenaline and everything just pumping through my veins all at once. I ran like I've never ran before. I was running for my life. Even with my backpack filled with water and food and some gear, I was even outrunning my cousin. We got back to the ATV and immediately started it up. We took off in high gear, getting the you-know-what out of there. As we looked back, there the creature was, standing right where the ATV had been, with that same evil-looking smile on its face and those red, soulless eyes. I don't ever want to go into those woods again.